In this WrestleTalk news, WWE sent out a survey asking fans if they'd be interested in an AEW idea being on their show, FTR shoot on Bret Hart's return to WWE, 3 huge returns for tonight's Raw, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
In 2019, we got WWE's first bit of real competition since the death of WCW in 2001. Sorry, TNA. With the launch of All Elite Wrestling, a promotion that was backed by a billionaire with billions to spend, some of the most popular names in the wrestling landscape, and a TV deal with a major network. It was a company that was planned to lose money in its first 3 years, but turned a profit in year 1. However, going by interviews and investors' calls, WWE do not see AEW as competition, even though they're the ones who reportedly told Domino's about the Nick Gage-Chris Jericho spot on Dynamite, and allegedly buy fast national numbers and leak them to certain members of the press, but only if the Rampage number is below 500,000 viewers, because that is below what TNT would consider a success for the show. And all of that is because internally, WWE do consider AEW competition, as well they should. They even admitted as such in their lawsuit against MLW. And in a new survey sent out to fans, it looks like WWE might be considering taking on one of AEW's most unique traits and putting it on their own show, the ranking system. WWE periodically send out these surveys to fans, asking them questions about how much of the product they watch, how much they spend on merchandise, who are their favorite wrestlers, things like that. A recent survey was sent out asking fans to rank their interest in the card for WrestleMania Backlash, and previous ones have asked fans about their thoughts on Ring of Honor, New Japan, and other wrestling promotions. And in all of this, they pepper in questions about ideas that they've clearly discussed in creative meetings to gauge fan interest. PW Insider have seen the latest fan survey sent out over the weekend, which asks, are fans interested in a wrestler ranking system? This is interesting, as a previous fan survey sent out in March asked fans, what do you like, if anything, about watching AEW Dynamite? This, of course, would not be the first time WWE have used a ranking system. WWE.com used to have the Power Rankings back in 2018, though that didn't affect any storylines on screen, but SmackDown themselves had, for the briefest time period in 2018, the SmackDown Top 10, a ranking system that was, if I recall correctly, voted on by the wrestlers to determine who would get future title shots and things like that. Side note, I'd actually totally forgotten about all of this until last night when I was reading this news story, and I had a pang of nostalgia as I remember Ollie Davis shouting me down on the WrestleTalk podcast because I thought the SmackDown Top 10 was a really good idea. In the end, I guess he was right, as it only lasted 3 or so weeks before they gave up on it and changed their minds, but hey, you know, it was a good idea in principle. It is also interesting that WWE might be considering bringing in a ranking system like AEW's, as their previous mantra when fans ask why their favorite wrestlers never win is that wins and losses don't matter. This would be a huge change in creative thinking for the company. AEW's ranking system also has its flaws, with fans asking questions about it every single week when the company posts about it on Twitter. But speaking of WWE not thinking AEW is competition, even though they are, they recently got a name that AEW wanted to sign, and now there's apparently some pew 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 shooting going on. Thank you for your support on Patreon, Starbucks Stephen Costa. Get your own Patreon shoutout over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Following AEW Revolution, FTR started a babyface turn by dumping manager Tully Blanchard and then having some of the best matches seen all year, in both singles and tag matches. CM Punk vs Dax Harwood, FTR vs the Young Bucks, and FTR vs the Briscoes all happened within a few weeks of each other. The babyface turn was also accompanied by several nods and references to Bret Hart, with the reported plan being that the Hitman was going to come into AEW and be their new manager, something that is actually happening at Big Time Wrestling in June, when FTR take on Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson, with Arn Anderson in their corner. However, those teasers have since died down somewhat, and now we likely know why. Dave Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter last Friday that Bret Hart had quietly inked a lucrative WWE deal that would ban him from appearing on AEW shows. Meltzer expanded upon this on Wrestling Observer Radio, reporting that he signed a Legends deal with the company as well as a merchandise one, and that I was told AEW believes Bret cannot work for them because of this WWE deal. And Dax Harwood has now seemingly offered his thoughts on the situation, tweeting a photo of Bret Hart giving the middle finger with the caption, "Saturday mood." And just in case you thought the two things might not be connected, after all, Dax does seem like a bit of a grumpy Gus sometimes, Mick Foley retweeted this post asking, "Can you guys start mentioning me on here and tag Vince McMahon in it?" To which Cash Wheeler responded, "As long as you agree to the same rates and fees as our last clients." Interestingly in all of this, however, is that, according to Dave Meltzer, Bret Hart wasn't considered to be factored into AEW's ongoing Owen Hart Foundation tournament. He said in that Wrestling Observer Radio that Bret and Owen's widow Martha Hart have had their issues. And when Dave asked Bret directly if he was going to be in Las Vegas for Double or Nothing, where the finals of the tournament are taking place, he was just like, "They haven't asked me." That's what he said. It's likely that Bret Hart won't be on WWE TV screens anytime soon, but someone who will be on Raw tonight is Becky Lynch, with WWE announcing that the former Raw Women's Champion will be making her first appearance on the show since losing the title at WrestleMania to Bianca Belair a few weeks ago. And according to Reddit user Kermit125, who has broken stories in the past, she won't be the only return in the segment. And this story has also been backed up by Fightful Select, who are also reporting that WWE are currently planning on Asuka's return. And it could be as soon as tonight's episode of Raw, with the plan that Asuka and Becky Lynch will have a short-term feud. Asuka hasn't been on WWE TV since last July, if you can believe that. She had been injured for some of last year, but was rumored to be part of this year's Royal Rumble. However, Asuka herself shot down rumors that she had been cleared to wrestle at the time. And Becky Lynch and Asuka might not be the only big returns on tonight's Raw. Isn't it funny that the past few weeks of WWE Raw following the Raw After Mania have felt more like the Raw After Mania than Raw After Mania did? Several big angles taking place, NXT call-ups like Tommaso Ciampa and Austin Theory winning the US title. And a new report from Fightful Select is suggesting that we may see a really surprising return to Raw tonight. Mustufa Ali. Sean Rossap of Fightful reports that there have been discussions as of this weekend for Ali to return to WWE TV, with one pitch being made to bring him back tonight. Ali has had a tumultuous time with WWE since last October, with reports saying he had a huge argument with Vince McMahon over his creative direction, and he wasn't even brought in for TV tapings despite being available to do so. In fact, he hasn't been backstage in WWE for months. He then publicly asked for his release from the company in January of this year, but it was reported that WWE turned this down as Vince McMahon sees value in keeping him. Ali then revealed he's got 2.5 years left on his WWE deal and has spent all of his time on Twitter showing off his wrestling training and talking vaguely about what he wants to do once he's gone from WWE. So it will be interesting to see what might have changed for Ali and WWE's relationship if he does come back tonight. As always though, nothing is for certain. SRS adds in his report, "We can never be sure that something like that will actually happen until he appears on the air due to the constant changes of the program." And those constant changes are also reportedly set to come for wrestlers being heel or face. On Friday Night SmackDown, we saw Xia Li randomly turn heel in a backstage segment, and in a dark segment following the show, Mansoor turned heel and joined LA Knight's new group Knight Model Agency, where he'll team with Face, who was rebranded to Face last week. And according to WrestlingNews.co, fans should expect more turns for several stars in the coming weeks as Vince McMahon feels that some of the talent is being miscast right now. Just before we get out of here, I just wanted to give myself a bit of a pat on the back because I won the Wordle League this week! Yeah, the Wordle League that we have in the office between me, Andy, Pete, Terry, Angela, social media Abby, Jenna. I beat them all! I mean, I tied with Sullivan Bo Brown, but hey, I still bloody won and I lost last week.
Number 1, Cody Rhodes Triple H heat. Cody Rhodes certainly raised some eyebrows of AEW fans when he returned to WWE early this month at WrestleMania to face Seth Rollins, and those eyebrows only raised themselves further when Rhodes mentioned in interviews that Triple H, whom he had previously called out on many an occasion, including breaking his throne with a sledgehammer and getting a golden shovel out from under the ring.